Hey everyone, welcome back to Dev Parkour. As you can see, things are still a little bit of a mess, but I am moved into the new house, so the move has finally been a success. We can check that one off. Now we just have a bunch of boxes to unpack, and that's actually what I wanted to talk about in today's video. Um, no, I'm not going to bore you with the details of how I pack the boxes and anything like that. That's actually for a future video. Kidding, kidding. Though we will talk more about how I planned out the move, because that's actually something that I'm pretty excited about and something that I think applies pretty readily to software engineering. So in this video, I want to talk specifically about um, kind of why I took this very aggressive planning approach to all of these boxes are in the house. They are not yet unpacked. It still feels kind of like chaos, but we have all of these boxes in the house ready to go. The reason for that is because you can't plan everything. You just can't. It doesn't matter if it's a house move or a software move or a software development project. Doesn't matter. You can't account for every little detail. It's just not possible. You can't expect every unexpected thing that comes along. You can't plan for every unexpected thing necessarily. But the key is the more you have planned, the more basically anything you can think of, you plan. Then you feel comfortable with the plan, and then anything you think of from that point onward, you plan. Everything goes into the plan so that everything you have thought of is in the plan. Everything is planned out. Everything has its specific day when it's going to happen, or expected amount of effort if you're doing like an agile story pointing system or something like that. That way, when the unexpected things happen, you know within reason what the effect is going to be on your goals, because you have a plan of how to achieve those goals. It's a very different story if you say, let's talk specifically about software for a minute. Let's say you started, today's January 4th, so let's say you started the year with a plan that by the end of March, the end of Q1, you are going to ship a thing. That's a great goal, but unless you have a plan to get there, who knows if it's going to happen? My guess is probably not, because humans are notoriously bad at estimating things, and two things I tend to see contribute to that deadline is not going to be hit if you don't do any additional planning on top of just having that goal. The first thing is that basically the only estimation you've done is looked at this large project and said, I think it's going to take about 3 months. That's totally wrong. Usually we underestimate. Usually that 3-month project is going to take 4 or 5, maybe 6. But we don't know it. We don't, it feels smaller. We haven't thought through all the nooks and crannies, all the little details. Maybe not details. Details is probably not the right way to describe it, but the exceptional, everything that isn't the happy path. What happens if someone types in absolute garbage in this field? We haven't really accounted for that. We haven't accounted for that extra 20%, that extra 40%. So that's the one thing. The other thing is that humans typically work with a decreased sense of urgency the further away from a deadline or a timeline we are. So what'll happen is the first month and a half of that 3 months will be fairly leisurely. People will work at their kind of base speed. It is sustainable, yes, but it's probably a little bit slower than developers are actually capable of working sustainably. And then the next month it starts to pick up the pace, and realistically that's probably the pace that you want to be at long term. It's sustainable, but with a sense of urgency. And then that last 2 weeks, that last half a month, right before the deadline, everybody's scrambling to get things done. That's where a lot of bugs will pop in, because people are rushing to get things done. People are maybe cutting corners. That's not a good situation to be in. It's not sustainable, and but it's because there was an aggressive deadline, and the whole, the momentum just wasn't there throughout the entire project. Um, so how can you alleviate that? The more you can plan up front, the better an idea you can have uh, of what's actually reasonable, where you're going to be, at X point along through the project, um, and that way when things come up, when top salesman throws a wrench in the works because the client that he's or the prospect he's been working with really wants the new feature to work a very specific way, and everybody supports it. Once they see it, they realize, oh yeah, that's really the direction we should go. If you have a plan of, I'd say, most agile processes are actually kind of onto something with the whole 2 week sprint concept. I would say, even 1 week sprints wouldn't be bad. And depending on the team, if the team's focus tends to be in 1 week increments, go with 1 week sprints. If the team likes to focus on every other week doing that sort of thing, do that. It is a myth that if you have shorter sprints, you will spend twice the time in meetings, because you're planning shorter sprints. Those meetings should be approximately half the time, and also those meetings, they should be productive. If those meetings are not productive, either stop doing them or change them so that they are productive. But that's a rant for another video. So if you're planning 2 week sprints, I mean, even before you get to the sprint level, start with this giant feature. What do you actually need to do to get that feature done? And I like to employ one of two strategies. Well, I guess technically three, and they're not surprising. When you hear them, you'll understand what I mean by that. Either start with the first thing that you would do, and then build on top of that. First thing, next first thing, onward and onward. Or start with the last thing that you would do, and then the next last thing, and kind of work backward from that. Or you can start in the middle and just kind of think of everything that you might want to do. You can employ a combination of those strategies, either one. But yeah, that's how I would do that. So once you have that plan of what are the things you're going to do, then you can start to look at smaller pieces and estimate how long they're going to take. And then it might be helpful to start dividing things into those 1 week or 2 week increments. Some teams also work on 3 week increments. I don't really recommend that. 1 week or 2 week, I think, is the ideal spot for that. But either way, start dividing things into your increments, and then you can very clearly see if you're going to hit your arbitrary deadline, if you're not going to hit your arbitrary deadline, and then you can start making real decisions based on real data. Things like, can we cut nice to haves, or can we push the deadline? Can we push the release? Both totally valid options. But now you're dealing with actual data, things that you've thought through, an actual plan, instead of, just kind of gut feeling. After that, then you start to get to, if, as you're executing on this plan, if unknowns happen, if uncertainty happens, then you can start seeing how that'll affect everything else. Something new comes in and it's going to take a couple days. Well, you've got a couple options. You can either take something out that was going to take about the same amount of time, or you can push the release again. But at least then it is a decision based on information, true information, or at least a planned information, as opposed to just, this is how I feel. I think that throws a wrench in the works, so we might have to let the release slide by a couple days. that's a more difficult conversation to have, especially if someone's kind of pushing an aggressive release schedule on you to either get excitement in the market or because they're really excited about it. Either one. I've seen both happen. Um, it's a lot easier to have those conversations, and you're more likely to have a better release, a better product, a more productive conversation, and a better relationship if you can talk in terms of actual concrete things that you're swapping in, swapping out, um, extending a timeline because we have X, Y, and Z to do, and that's how long they take. Um, but the more accurate you can get those estimates, and by that I mean the smaller you can get those chunks so you can get those more accurate estimates, the better you'll be for all of this planning. So I know that was a lot, and I think most of it is actually stuff you've heard in other videos. So consider this a summary. But in any event, I really enjoyed taking this high level planning approach to my house move. I think it made it go a lot more smoothly. We definitely ran into some unknowns, some uncertainties, where if we didn't have that plan, I would have been really freaking out. It would have been really stressful. It was still a move, so it was still stressful, but we had everything planned out. In a perfect world, this is how everything's going to happen. And then here are the things that we know there might be some uncertainty with. How do we prevent that from affecting other things? So one example is that we had cleaning of the new house very scheduled out. We had carpet guy coming on one day, deep clean coming on another day to clean the door handles and cabinets and vacuum and all that stuff. There's some hardwood, so clean the hardwood, that sort of thing. Basically everything that wasn't carpet. They were coming the next day. The day after that was New Year's Day. After that was cable, internet, all that good stuff. And then the day after that was moving all our stuff. And the day after that is today. Brings us to today. Every one of those things had to fall into line. Unfortunately, we had some weather on the day the carpet guy was supposed to come, so that had to slip, and it turned out that there just wasn't a good place for the carpet cleaning to fit in with the rest of the schedule. So unfortunately, that had to drop out. It was a bummer, but we'll make it work. We've got some plans to we have alternatives because we've prepared. We have alternative options for how we can deal with the carpet and make sure that it's cleaned. So that's what we'll do. And thanks to this extensive plan, we have that flexibility. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Click that notification bell. We've got a lot more videos coming out a lot more regularly, probably starting next week. If you hear that noise in the background, that's my cat. He is very excited to be in the new house, and he has been exploring all night, and I think he just can't wait to tell me about everything that he's seen in the house. So I'm excited to hear from him. Hopefully you'll see him in a future video. Hopefully you're excited for that as well. Go ahead and like, share, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on software planning, and if you've moved, if you've tried anything like I did, trying to approach it as you would a software project. Thanks for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.